actually live on YouTube.
Says we're live.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here with us today at the Lightworker Secret to Success YouTube channel. I am Pamela, and this is Rebecca. Amanda and Adam are away on a spiritual retreat for the week, so it's just the two of us, and we're going to spend this evening talking to Rebecca and just interviewing her and sharing some of the wonderful insights that she's got and her knowledge of the Silver Ultramind training. So sit back, and if you have questions, put them in the chat for us, and we will, if we don't get to them today, we'll get to them and answer them in the chat for you in the week. So Rebecca, thank you for being here. So I just want to know, I know we've talked about this before, when did you first discover the Silver Ultramind training?
Okay, I was a flight attendant for a long time. I started flying in 1967. I flew right through 2001 and retired in 2002, which was actually 19 years ago, because this is the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. And because I was a Boston-based flight attendant with United Airlines, I was very close to what happened on that day. In fact, I was almost on that airplane until I changed my bid at the last minute. So I decided to retire. It was time to do something else, because that was quite a paradigm shift, but not only the airline people, but the whole world. And so I decided to retire after 35 years. And I looked for something else to do for 2 years. Now, I had always had tandem careers with flying, because as a crew member, I got a lot of time off. I usually worked 3 days a week, sometimes 4 days a week, depending on where I was flying. So I would always have time to do other things. I had, over those 35 years, done real estate sales, financial planning. I'd owned a boutique in Newport, Rhode Island, and then another one in my hometown, Westport, Massachusetts. I owned a modeling agency in New York. I owned a multi-level marketing company, telecommunications consulting institute, reselling AT. I did all kinds of things. I was married 3 times. So I was always doing things, very busy. And I liked to do things that I was interested in. So I would either start a business or check it out. Now, I've always been interested in metaphysics, spirituality, and consciousness, but I always thought it was just kind of my favorite hobby until 2 years after I retired. I bought a book called Silver Mind Control, and they just happened to be looking for trainers at that point. Jose Silva, the founder of Silver Mind Control, had passed away in 1999, and this was 2004 when I discovered this book and the fact that they were looking for trainers. So I contacted Alex Silva, the nephew, and he realized I was qualified because I've been studying this stuff for so many years. Consciousness, manifesting, spiritual healing. I love to study those things. So I became a Silver Ultramind trainer, went down to Miami, and Alex trained me in a small class that he gave for other people that wanted to be trainers. And I found it to be a very, very interesting formula for how to use your mind in a special way, because I could immediately see how it would allow us to get to that alpha level of consciousness on command, which is an altered state, which only about 20% of the population of humanity goes into naturally all day long. Most people are walking around in the beta level of consciousness. Now, I know you know about that because you're a theta healer, but that's where people are engaging their 5 senses in order to process information. And when you're at the alpha level, you're in the subjective state of consciousness, where you go within, your brainwave slows down to about 12 cycles per second, as opposed to 21 at beta. And you can use your imagination and your visualization abilities when you're at the alpha level of consciousness to create the perception of things as you desire, rather than just reacting to what you're seeing with your 5 senses. So it puts you in the driver's seat. You go to what we call level. You're at your center. And when you're at your center, you're the center of your universe. And it's a much more exciting way to live. So I learned all this over the years of teaching Silva Ultramind, because I taught it solidly for 5 years all over the country. After I got trained in March of 2004, I taught my first class in May of 2004. And I went on from there to just keep teaching it everywhere from Seattle to California to Florida to Denver to you name it, all over the place. And it was fun because the feedback I got from students was really interesting. Not only did they share a lot of teachers that they'd come across and books and things that had happened to them, but they got to learn how to get to that alpha level on command in this powerful 2-day seminar. So it was a win-win situation all the way around. I still teach it independently now and then. In fact, a younger person who just graduated from college got the training quite a few years ago from me. And she is now working in the school system and uses the techniques every single day to manifest, and has been ever since. So some people get it more deeply than others. We're all at a different phase as far as our consciousness goes. A lot of it has to do with where were we before we came here? If you believe in reincarnation, maybe you set yourself up in a previous experience to learn more about metaphysics and spiritual healing and manifesting. Or maybe you just came here to do something else, be a parent or work a certain job, and maybe that this isn't for you. Everybody's different, but there are more and more people, because we're living in the time of the Great Awakening, that are realizing they need to start thinking outside the box, because maybe just accepting what they're being told every day by governments and media and people that want to run their lives for them isn't working so well. So that's why I think the time is now for things like the Silva Ultramind training. And when Jose started teaching, he started in 1966 calling it Silva Mind Control, because he wanted people to learn how to control their own minds. And of course, that title was a bit controversial. And then when who's the guy that drank the Kool-Aid down in South America?
Yeah, I know you're talking about, but so we went blank.
Yeah, well, when that happened, then they said, oh, we got to change the name. People are getting the wrong idea. So they changed it to Silva Method and Silva Ultramind. But before that, it was Silva Mind Control. And the training has always been very, very popular. At least 8 million people have been trained all over the world in the Silva techniques, because they work, and you can get tremendous results.
I always think it's interesting about those, because like you said, there's so many different things out there and different techniques that people can use and benefit from. But sometimes even though it's out there, it's not as readily, I guess, you have to know what you're searching for, right? You have to know what you're looking for.
Well, you have to be a seeker. If you're not a seeker, nothing's going to show up. It's not that you have to know it. You really don't know what you're looking for until you find it. It's like you don't know you're asleep until you wake up. Because right. How would you know? Nobody's ever told you. We don't talk about enlightenment in our cultures. We don't teach it in schools. We don't focus on it even in our churches, the traditional churches. There are right. Some enlightened churches that get more into spiritual healing and, awakening. But the traditional churches have always kept people in the dark more about how to awaken yourself to the infinite possibilities that we're capable of. Once you discover that it's within, it's not out there. Right. See, a beta thinker is always thinking, I have to change what's out there. if I could just change the way those people act, or the way my job is, or the way my family treats me, everything would be good. But an alpha thinker realizes the inner is controlling the outer. So they go within and change their perception of the way things are happening around them. And then bingo, they see things shift and start to align themselves in ways that work for them in a more harmonious way.
I was listening.
Yes, go on.
I was listening to. Can you remind me? This. I don't know. Well, these webinars I said the other day, and this guy was talking about how so many people come from it as a place that I'm broken and I need to be fixed. Instead of going like you're talking about, you're going within and realizing that if you're controlling things from within you, you're not broken because your divine right, your sovereign right is health and well-being.
Exactly. And not everybody, but a ton of people have been brainwashed into believing that there's something wrong with them and they can't fix it. It's almost like now they even accept, oh, I'll never fix it. Like, I've got ADHD, I've got, this problem, that problem. I hear it all the time. I even hear people saying, oh, well, I have to get tested for, these invisible diseases because what if I have them? Where before people would walk around and just expect to be healthy,
right,
until they got sick. But now they think you're sick and you got to do something to get healthy. It's a whole Gurdjieff called it upside down thinking, where right is wrong and wrong is right. It's upside down thinking. And it's very easy for mankind to slip into that way of thinking because they're easily programmed and brainwashed. And that's what Silva training is really all about, is deprogramming yourself and realizing that you've been programmed from the time you came out of your mother's womb. It's just the way it is in this world. You're programmed by everything, your culture, your family, your community, your country. And if you really want to make your decisions using your own personal free will, you have to rise up and deprogram yourself and find ways to make it happen on your own terms, or you'll just be jerked around by society and people that want to program you.
Well, and what would be your, like, for people, like you said, you have to realize that you're programmed and then you be able to deprogram yourself. But that's the biggest key right there, is so many people don't even realize that they're programmed.
No, they don't until they're in a situation where the pain is so bad they can't take it anymore. That is generally what causes humans in the three-dimensional world to wake up. That's why they're calling this the Great Awakening. More and more and more pressure is being put on everyone. Young people wearing masks, adults, feeling fearful around every corner, afraid to travel, afraid to congregate, afraid to do. Now, that's when you're driven by fear, you're not free. Now, when are you going to get to the place where you just snap and you go, that's it, I can't take it anymore? Like, I just saw an article today. It said 1 in 4 Australians are considering suicide because it's so draconian over there with the shutdowns and the lockdowns, right, and the draconian. I mean, they're brutal. So how much can people take before they wake up? And when people wake up, they have inner power and they start to stand up for themselves. They start to take a stand. When I woke up, I was diagnosed with cancer. Now, the doctor that diagnosed me said, I want you to go to the hospital next week and have surgery, major surgery. And I said, well, what if I don't? And he said, oh, you'll be dead by the time you're 40, very casually. And I went numb. Now, I stood up to that. And yes, it took courage and it took a leap of faith. But I knew that we are so much, I just innately knew that it is possible to be healed spiritually. Many, many, many people have done it. throughout the ages. Jesus was the master teacher, and he healed many people, and so did his disciples. And they say for about 300 years after Jesus was around, it was natural for people that were following his teachings to heal people. But then it was kind of like faded out. People started doubting. And that's what happens. You have to be convicted and believe that you can do things. And if you don't believe it, you're not going to do it. You know, inner power. That's why I call my company Inner Power, because once you understand how to get to that altered state of consciousness, which you can call the Christ consciousness, it's a frequency. It's 12 cycles per second. You can manifest, you can heal. Why are some people better healers than others? Because they naturally go to that altered state of consciousness where they can do these things. Anybody's capable of it, but you have to, just like you have to practice the piano if you want to be any good at it, you have to practice going within and visualizing the outcomes that you want rather than just living by default.
Yeah. And that, I think that's it. I know a lot of people talk about like affirmations and this and that, and then you have people say, well, affirmations don't work, but I think it's the same thing, right? They've got to be able to go within themselves. So if they're just saying affirmation and they don't feel it, they don't connect.
Right. If you're just saying it at the beta level of consciousness, you know, I am abundant, I am rich, I am a millionaire, and you're just saying it at the beta level, you have to close your eyes or, you know, defocus your eyes, go within and feel that you've created the world within where you are actually living the way you will live when you are living abundantly. And create it like you're living it in the present moment, and then you own it. If you can't own it, like I'll give you an example. I wanted to manifest a job where I was working in Boston that would have paid. I was working part-time and I wanted this full-time position. So every morning I owned it. I looked in the mirror and I said, I am successful. I am in demand. I am powerful. I love you. I love the fact that I can do anything I want to do. On my 70th birthday, I was offered this fabulous job. And it was even better than I asked for. More money, more benefits than I even imagined. And it was a fun job. It wasn't hard. It was actually fun. So you can manifest, but you have to know kind of what you want. Like one of the teachings in, it has to be believable within your realm. Like I could care less about being a rocket scientist or, you know, a brain surgeon. No, that's not within my realm of possibilities. But there are certain things within my realm of possibility that I can stretch myself into and still do it, you know, attract it, even though it's a little bit more out of my comfort zone. Like right now, I'm working on an online course that'll be coming out probably in January. And I already have one online course that I've had for a few years on Udemy called Metaphysics Made Easy, but I'm going to go much more deeply into the teachings that I've been studying for over 50 years now, and, you know, how to get the results you want in the realm of manifesting, recreating yourself, becoming the next best version of yourself, spiritual healing, anti-aging. You can actually reverse the aging process, and you can live a really happy life once you tap into the power that's within you. It's divine. We all have it, but unfortunately, if you think it's out there on a cloud or somewhere outside of you, you're not tapped into it, and you need to know how to find it in order to connect with your eternal divine self that can do everything.
Well, and I think the other thing too is, like you said, you're connecting to your eternal divine. You've also got to believe that you are eternally divine, right?
Yes, you do. And you usually don't believe it until you have a little bit of evidence. That's why I found a lot of the people that came to my Silva seminars, many of them had already had a near-death experience or an out-of-body experience or a psychic experience. They were pretty they knew there was a lot more to them than just their physical body and, brain, but they couldn't figure out how to access it on a more regular, consistent basis. And that's why they wanted the training. Because when you realize that every day you can, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be driving down the street. You could be going into a store to buy something. You could be, visiting someone. You could be doing a sales call. You can always go into that state of consciousness where you're in the flow, the alpha level, and things will go much, much more harmoniously. Yeah.
I think that's because I know that you've read the Secret, and now you're also reading her second book, right?
Right, The Greatest Secret. Yeah, yeah. Rhonda had that experience ultimately where she found that inner peace, and she was a seeker. She was looking for it. And when she found it, she wanted to share it with the world, which is a natural thing. I've had this amazing, spiritual healing transformation when I was in my mid-20s. And then I spent many, many years trying to figure out what the hell happened, because it was such a shift in my consciousness. I mean, I went into a healer's office so fearful of cancer that I thought I was going to collapse. And then bingo, I had this instantaneous healing and was a different person after that with no fear. And I knew I was healed. And that kind of freedom, they call it the pearl of great price. I kind of like, I've analyzed it and analyzed it. Said, well, how come that doesn't happen to everybody? Well, because they're not looking for it. I have friends that have battled, terrible sicknesses, and they just go with the medical route and go, oh yeah, he's got to give me this chemo or cut it out or do something horrible, but it doesn't seem to bother them. See, that really bothered me.
I think it's definitely a mindset. I mean, because you hear all these different stories. I mean, like, I know there's a story, like the gentleman who wrote "You Are the Placebo." I can't remember her name. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Bruce. Yeah.
He was told he'd never walk again and all this stuff, and he's like, "No, that's not true."
Yeah, Joe Dispenza is another one who's teaching. Well, there's a thing called the Nocebo. Now, there's a lot of concern right now because if you keep telling people you're going to get sick, you're going to get sick, you're going to get sick, that's a nocebo. Just like if you give them a sugar pill and tell them it's going to cure them of whatever the hell they have, that's a placebo. And if your brain accepts it, you can be completely healed. It's proven that, they use them over all the time. But a nocebo will do the same thing in reverse. It can make you die. And many times, how doctors will say, oh, well, you've got 6 months. Sure enough, they die after 6 months. Or, once you can, when you get, and believe me, when that doctor gave me a death sentence and said, you'll be dead by the time you're 40, I think I was 26. That didn't sound that far away to me. And my blood ran cold in my body. I was freaked out. I went numb. And how dare they say these things to people?
Right.
It's cruel. And we just accept this as normal. It's not normal. Makes a lot of money in the medical world. I hate to say it. A lot of things are all about the money. But that's the thing about being a Silva graduate. You learn how to remote view. You learn how to go within and take a real serious look at a situation to see if it's good or bad for you. Which way should you go? You develop your intuition. Intuition is actually more accurate than intelligence. Einstein knew that. That's how he figured everything out. He had incredible intuition. He didn't just sit down and say mathematically, I'm going to figure out E equals MC squared. He had intuitive visions of the way the universe worked. And that's how geniuses operate. They tap into higher intelligence. Higher intelligence, which we are part of, knows everything. Everything.
Well, and when you tap into that, you open yourself up for that. I think for some people, I think perhaps it scares them.
Well, of
They
course
get
it
a
does.
taste of it and then they freak out.
Of course it does, but that means they're not ready in this lifetime. Unfortunately, if they met somebody who could explain to them, it's nothing to be afraid of. But many people are very, very superstitious. They've been
Yeah.
programmed that way, and it keeps them hung up. But that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. Because if you're living in fear, see, fear is one of the emotions you really, really want to get rid of, especially if you want to heal yourself. The first thing a good healer will address is the fear. Nothing eyes the fear. That's where the placebo can come in, or encouraging words that it's not a big deal. And bingo, you can shift your thought. But if you tell someone, oh, gee, I hate to tell you this, but the last person that had this condition is dead or something like that's not good. That's not good at all.
I I remember like when this is like several years ago, one of my brother's friends, young son, could see spirits, and
Yeah.
his wife freaked out. And the next thing you knew, and they were divorced. She was taking this little boy to psychiatrists and stuff, and they put him on all these medications so he would not be schizophrenic. And it's like, and my mom was telling him, just don't tell him you see him. Just don't tell your mom.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of young children do have experiences like that, and many times they are treated in a negative way. Yeah, but that's the kind of culture we live in.
And again, it's based on the fear and the superstition.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So that's the deal. My course is coming out in January, and I hope to, help some people that really want to learn how to get to that alpha level on command. This particular meditation that I use in the Silva training will be part of the course that you can listen to every day in order to get down to that alpha level until you just automatically go there. And it's not hard. It's so simple that we overlook a lot of these things that we can do because it's within us. It's always been within us, but we've been looking in the wrong direction.
Okay. So if someone wanted to get a hold of you, Rebecca, how would they reach you?
They can always go to my website, RebeccaTripp.com. And I also have a YouTube channel, Inner Power Training is my YouTube channel. And I have a lot of videos on there about different things like manifesting and spiritual healing and intention, different things. But if you go to my website, RebeccaTripp.com, you can email me or text me. My contact information is there.
Awesome. And I know they can also get a hold of your book that you have as well.
That's
Still,
right.
correct?
Yeah. My book came out in 2014. It's called Secrets of a Metaphysical Flight Attendant. And it really is an excellent read. It's a page turner. And there's a lot of interesting things in there about spiritual healing, plus being a crew member, traveling the world, 3 husbands, learned a lot about all kinds of things traveling around the planet. And I wrote it just to let people know that you can be on a spiritual journey no matter what your profession is. You don't have to go live in a monastery or be a monk. You can be a very worldly, flying around kind of person and still have these supernatural, transformative experiences and learn a lot just by being in contact with people.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you tonight. And like again, if you just been across our station, we believe that nothing happens by accident. You were meant to be here. So I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to our channel. If you liked our video, please share it with friends. And if you hit that little notification button down there, the next time we go live, you'll be notified. And we look forward to answering any questions you may have. Again, thank you, Rebecca, and